Let's now turn our attention, we're staying rather on politics, and let's turn our attention to Adamawa, where Governor Umaru Fintiri has thanked the electorates for entrusting him with their mandate for a second term. The governor, in his acceptance speech, promised to run an inclusive government. Governor Fintiri was declared the winner of the keenly contested rerun election, having polled 430,821 votes to defeat Senator Binani of the APC, who secured 396,788 votes. TVC's Owolabi Adenusi filed in this report.
Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri thanks the residents of Adamawa State for entrusting him with their votes for the second term. The governor, in his acceptance speech, promised inclusive government. Fintiri was declared winner of the keenly contested election, having polled 430,821 votes to defeat Senator Ahmadu Binani of APC, who scored 396,788 votes.
That Umaru Ahmadu Fintiri of PDP, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and
The announcement was greeted with many supporters of residents in Adamawa trooping out to major streets in Yola, the state capital, to celebrate the re-election. The former Minister of Health, Edie Hong, commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for protecting the nation's constitution. He said that with what INEC did, the vote of common man still counts.
We want to use this opportunity to thank the chairman of INEC for immediately coming out and announcing the misadventure and the criminal behavior of Hutu by declaring an illegal result. We thank him enormously for restoring democracy and for restoring peace in Adamawa.
Governor Ahmadu Fintiri also, in his acceptance speech, promised to continue with human developmental projects.
You elected to vote for continuity in functional public school system and payment of WAEC and NECO for our children. You voted for continuity in provision of health care and health insurance that makes it easier for the vulnerable to access quality service with ease. You voted for continuity in the provision of urban and rural infrastructure. You voted for continuity of policies that empower our women and youths.
This, though, may not be the last to be heard of the controversial election, as the All Progressives Congress APC candidate Senator Ahmadu Binani has gone to court to challenge the outcome of the poll. She had approached the court before INEC officially collected the result and finally announced the winner of the election.
Now, for more on the impact of INEC's intervention on the earlier declaration made by Adamawa State Resident Electoral Commissioner, let's speak with the program's manager, Yaga Africa, Paul James, who joins us live via Zoom from Abuja. Good to have you join us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation.
So many people have described what played out in Adamawa as an improvement on our electoral system. They say that, look, years ago, this could have happened and everyone would have gotten, who is involved would have gotten away with it. And that INEC wouldn't have had the powers or the independence like it has now to intervene. What's your thought on that? Does this really indicate that we have improved in our electoral system?
Well, I think there wasn't have been a better way to end the process in Adamawa than what INEC and other stakeholders did. The press shouldn't just be to INEC, but we must also here emphasize the role also that the security agencies, especially the swift response we saw from the Inspector General of Police, that redeployed the Commissioner of Police in the state and also asked the one from Gombe to step in. And also the efforts we saw also from INEC headquarters to take over the affairs of the administration of the elections in the state. But most importantly, also the court that tried to stay away from the issues so that the issues can, at least the matter can reach its logical conclusion. Because we know at some point that the APC candidate had to rush to the court to seek an injunction to derail the process. But of course, we saw how that pans out. So I think for me, it is victory for democracy and also to show that Nigeria is truly ready to consolidate all of this that has taken us more than 23 years to get to where we are today. But I thought it just didn't stop there. There have been a lot of calls from different quarters because what happened is capable of truncating our democracy. What happened is treasonable. I thought by now the security operatives will have picked up the INEC Electoral Commissioner that put us in this conundrum in the first place, and also all the accomplices, especially the police officers that were seen seated at that table when that heinous crime was conducted. So I think we need to see that these people are punished, these people are apprehended and exposed, so that, of course, the deterrent effect will help in the future engagement of the electoral process.
And talking about the consequences of this for the resident electoral commissioner, we know that INEC has written to the Nigerian police. The IGP has also redeployed I think it's the commissioner of police in Adamawa and replaced with that of Gombe. A letter has also been written to the presidency through the secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. But that those who have said, look, INEC doesn't necessarily have to go through that procedure, that INEC has the powers of prosecution. I just wanted to ask you about that in terms of the procedure that INEC has to take to ensure if maybe prosecution for or investigation of the resident electoral commissioner.
So I think this wouldn't even have happened in the first place. It's because of the limitation and the powers of INEC in the center that this happened. The resident electoral commissioners in the state are appointed by the president. What INEC does, INEC in the center, is to deploy them to the states. And so that is why sometimes you begin to wonder, who do they report to? Sometimes they seem to be doing things that are at variance with what we expect the INEC resident electoral commissioners to be doing. What we heard, for instance, for the case of Adamawa, that there has been an attempt by the INEC in the center to call him to order. There have been several calls, and he refused to answer the calls. Even on Monday, before INEC would issue a circular to ask him to stay away from the commission's office, that there was an attempt to reach out to him, but he refused to do that. Perhaps that is because of maybe the encumbrances that we may have in who he or she reports immediately. So I think this is going to be a reform issue going forward. Talking about
and Mr. James, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I do apologize for interrupting you because you already started touching on my next question. And I just wanted to ask you directly. Because now there is a conversation about the Electoral Act and the powers of INEC, like you already talked about. And many are saying, look, maybe it's time to revisit that Electoral Act and then expand the powers of INEC. What do you think should be done, especially in terms of how the powers of INEC, whether in the Electoral Act or as enabled by the Constitution?
I think the overhauling is not just for the electoral. We also have to go back to the issue of the Constitution. There is so much discretionary power vested on some persons that are supposed to help us in this process, and we're beginning to see how these powers are being abused. On the part of the INEC, for instance, there is so much. If you go back and read the act and some of the INEC guidelines for the election, you'll be hearing INEC shall, INEC shall. In fact, if you see the confusion in Adamawa, the man assumed in his role as INEC electoral commissioner that he has the power to make a declaration, which is not supposed to be so. The lack of understanding of his role perhaps is what had led us to this. But most importantly, the constitutional concern is even about the appointment of these people. We need to begin to talk about how to put the rank boss in the right squares, not just to be appointing anybody because the president has the power to appoint. We need to look at people that have the requisite experience to be able to fit into those roles. There were concerns before the election from the civil society about certain appointments that were made. Some of these appointments were done very close to the election, about 5 months to the election. Some of these officials didn't even have the time to learn through the process or even the opportunity to go and understudy how elections are conducted in other states. Now, if you talk about their experience or their affiliation to political parties, there were also concerns around that. These signs were visible. They were there before now. So we have to go back to the concern or the issue about their appointment.
Absolutely.
Maybe we have to think about...
like you said, again, sorry to interrupt you, but my time is up. Basically, like you said, it's time for an overhaul and a revisit not just of the Electoral Act, but also of the Constitution. Thank you so much for talking to us, as always. Always a pleasure to have your insights on these matters. Programs Manager, Yaga Africa, Paul James.